You have to check out the smug remark this Biden official gave to Kat Cammack. Unbelievable.
I want to start with your attention here on this jar. Do you see this? Do you know what this is?
Looks like candies or snacks.
Unfortunately, the reality is much more grim. These are wristbands that the cartels force people to wear when they cross the border. And if you're not wearing one and you cross the border, the cartels will take a limb or an appendage. This is what these people are forced to wear, and it dictates what cartel they belong to, how much they have paid. And they are absolutely a part of the horrors of trafficking and smuggling that occurs at our southwest border. And I have to point this out because I want to tell the journey, because this has really been laid out in bits and pieces along the way by my colleagues. And we're here to talk about these kids. Agents have reported in official testimony that these kids have the numbers, the same phone number sharpied on their arms time and time again. Now, we've heard, of course, of situations where the same sponsor is being called, and magically 20, 30, 40 kids end up with that sponsor. And again, I go back to your statement of we thoroughly vet. You've really emphasized that. Do you vet every member of the household? And does it include an FBI check? Does it include an Interpol check? I would hope that it would, considering that we've had 151 different nationalities cross the southwest border under the Biden administration. But I'm guessing that it doesn't, because only 9% of the UACs are subjected to a DNA test with their sponsor, less than 23% to a background check. And again, I should point out for the record the fact that you release these folks, these kids, to sponsors that are in the country illegally. By definition, they have already broken the law. Is it a standard operating policy to release children into the hands of sponsors in households that haven't been properly vetted and that are here in the country illegally?
I think I heard a question there, and so I'll try to respond because you packed a lot in there, a lot which I think has a lot of misinformation and that I disagree with. I could first start by saying that we do go through a thorough process on assessment of the child when the child first comes to our attention. So that
what is your I'm sorry, I'm going to reclaim my time. Secretary, what is your definition of thorough?
I mentioned it in a previous
Does it include
response.
a DNA test?
An assessment of the child's
No, that is not my
situation.
question. My question is, does it include a DNA test, yes or no?
DNA is one of the tools that we use on occasion.
In only 9% of the cases.
First of all, he says when she asked him what was in that big jar, his response was, I don't know, what is it, candy? It clearly looks like there are wristbands in there. So he was being a little sarcastic to her in that answer. And then secondly, I never knew when Kat mentioned that in the children's arms is written the phone number of the person who's sponsoring them in the United States. And when she said that it is the same phone number, so these kids are being sent to the same person in the United States where potentially or allegedly trafficking is happening. And because they're not vetting thoroughly, they're not even documenting, they're not following up, they're not doing a thorough investigation on, number one, who these sponsors are that they're sending these children to. And she's right, like, are you vetting the house? Are you having somebody check the location to make sure that it's a proper housing for a child, a safe place for a child to go? And when she asked him about that, he starts to give fluffy answers, like, we give a thorough, she stops, she's like, what is your definition of thorough? I'm glad she did that because he didn't have a good definition. She's like, no, are you vetting these people? Are you setting the FBI there to check the housing? Are you really watching out for these children? They all have the same phone number. That should be a huge red flag. But red flags can't be found if you're not looking for signs that are there that something's wrong with where you're placing these children who are illegally coming into the United States.